Hey guys, and welcome back to another YouTube video. In this video we're going through the West Coast versus Hawthorn game that happened on the Sunday afternoon. I believe it was a 4:40 start time. I don't think I caught any of this game in particular. I was tracking along with it, so it probably will be a quicker recap, but I mean there's not really much to go through anyway at this point in the season too much. But before we jump into this video, remember to like and subscribe, turn the notification bell on so you know when I upload, and let's get into this recap. So Duggan 132, he started off really strong, 37, 39, 23, 33. It was a pretty good game from him in general all round. He ended up with 28 disposals, a really good kick to handball ratio, a good 14 marks as well. That's always going to help. I don't expect him to do this regularly, but he's that type of defender that he could realistically be a good buy in the last sort of 7-8 weeks if they just go to a kick mark game West Coast, because he's going to be the one that's on the cusp anyway of that top 8, but he could be one that could be a good pod. Just come the end of the season now that he is putting up the greatest performances the last couple of weeks. The last 4 before that he hadn't cracked the ton, but I feel like he's a guy that could do it, and you're only probably risking, I'd say the low for Duggan in these last 8 or so weeks is probably about a 92, 93. And the high for him could be, I remember last year when I had him, he went on a run of like 4 or 5 games for like a 110 or something like that, right when I was going to trade him. And he just kept on putting up good performances. So I think we could see something similar like that, where he just goes on a run, crazy run. If I go 40 wire and we'll check what his run was last year. Players, let's go Duggan, here we go. Fantasy profile 2023. He went on a, where is it here? He went on a run here. You can sort of see 96, 101, 101, 113, 63, 140, 137, and then I think he got injured or suspended, one of the two. It might have been a suspension, and then that's when I dumped him. But you can just see that 5-game run there. It did include a 63, which I did forget about. 101 plus 113 plus 63 plus 140 plus 137, divide that by 5. That's a 110.8 run, even with the 63 involved. So just shows how powerful he was in that run. McGovern 89, Witherden 78. None of these guys actually. It sucks how we've just gone West Coast. Top guy Duggan. None of these guys matter. This is why I wouldn't be getting Yo. He doesn't really convert that well to fantasy now, actually thinking about it. I know he did go 110, 117. It's just that he had injuries before, and he did this before in rounds 3 and 4, and then he just started to go off the pace. And I'm pretty sure he still had, even though this was a 70 game, I'm pretty sure it was, and I could be completely wrong on this. Watch me be completely wrong, but I'm pretty sure it converted well to Supercoach. What was it in Supercoach on that? It was only a 64, but we've seen him do it before in last round in round 15. If I go to that game, he ended up with a 139 in Supercoach, so that's a plus 22. And then in the last game that I played, that round 13, he ended up with a 110 in fantasy. And if I just quickly go here and find his Supercoach score, it was a 127. So he seems to have a 1.1 or a 1.2 conversion rate in fantasy and Supercoach from fantasy to Supercoach. So he's much more valuable in Supercoach than he is fantasy. Harley Reid 67. He did really well second quarter, but then he has these he just gives away a lot of free kicks. 4 free kicks against really does take the wind out of the sail type approach. As he just cannot, he almost needs to catch back up 12 points. Like, he has to catch up 4 disposals extra to get there. He is going to be a star of the game. It's just a matter of, is he actually, and he won't get forward stats next year, which will make him probably irrelevant next year. Is he going to be like Chad Warner and guys like that, where they're not absolute fancy primos, because they're more of a impact player rather than a ball winner and a accumulator like that of Dacos, Goulden, etc. Barras, Kelly, Ryan, Jones, Rotham, no one here that I'm really interested about. And yeah, there are a lot of their younger players here just down the bottom again. I would like to see Ruben Jimby have that natural improvement that we talk about quite a lot, but it just he does it one game and then he's off for about 3. Dylan Moore here, he started off really, really strongly here. If we look at his stats here, he was at, 30 points, 19 minutes into the quarter, did actually, 33, 22 minutes into the quarter. He started really tracking really well. Second quarter, got off to an absolute flyer. Again, got to, 58 with about half the quarter in the second to go. He was absolutely on fire. And then the last quarter as well, he did really, 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 really well to get there. 29 touches, 12 marks, and 2 goals is a really, really good accumulation for him. And yeah, just really happy to have him in the side. It seems like 2 out of every sort of 4 games, or 1 in every 2, he seems to fire. Like this 127, blank, blank, 132, blank, 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 116, 114, 196, and then a couple more blanks. So he seems to do really well 1 in every 2 games. You would like to see a little bit more consistency, but he's a forward that's averaging, I think in the, let me actually double check on my phone so I don't give away my trades. But I believe he is averaging in the sort of 85 or so region, I think. Let me just double check that here. Dylan Moore, he is averaging 86.8. So yeah, he's averaging right on that cusp of a top 8 or so forward. These sort of makeshift forward guys that don't really have a role or have gained a role midway through the year. So he's in that patch there that it could be the difference maker up the top is who you have in that forward line in the last 8 weeks, as you probably want a guy that's just got a role rather than these sort of bit part guys. But Dylan Moore can in parts do and pull a 5 goal or a 2 goal 12 mark effort. Sicily 113, he is rapidly, and yes, he was injured, so he'll be a test for next week, but he is rapidly making up for lost ground in the start where he had a 30, a 70, 71, 66, when he basically had no defenders there. Then DMP'd a couple of weeks and is now going on a 5-game stretch effectively here where he is averaging pretty well. Let me actually just double check what he is averaging at this point, because he's averaging 87.5 on the year, because I've double checked this like 2 or 3 times. But his last 5 are 104, his last 3 are 110. If he does that for the last couple games, he's going to probably be off this list, just because this was another tracking 150 game for him. 1943, 51. He got 94 in the second and third combined. Like this, he is a guy that on occasion can go 160, and it's almost game-breaking when he does do it. So I'll be interested to see how that works out for Sicily. If he is, I don't know what the injury AFL, I can actually do this, AFL injury list. Here we go. Let's go to Hawthorn. Give me Hawthorn, please. Sicily avoided surgery and is a test. He's got that shoulder that I think a lot of players do have, where it just pops out, it seems like, semi-regularly, and then they just pop it back in and they play on. Lloyd Meek, a 112, he was pretty good as well. 26-42, 26-18, he was pretty decent throughout the game, but he did play against basically a Flynnless ruck for, let me just check here. He played against Flynn for only roughly 2.5 quarters, I would say, or near and on 3. And then on the last quarter, he actually did most of his damage when Flynn was actually there. So it's quite surprising that is the case. How many did Jack Darling get? He got 1 hit out. Who else was rucking? Bailey Williams got 15 hit outs. It's quite weird that there weren't many hit outs, I guess, gotten after the likes of Flynn was out. McDonald 103, he was really good in the last quarter. This is the type of game that I sort of semi-expect from him regularly, because he isn't going to get that role that he was talked about so much in the lead up to his draft and in his draft about his fancy output. And we talked about it every sort of off season that you get, that when's that natural bump going to come. He was a really good midfielder. I think he averaged like 105, 110 in the national champs or something like that in his under 18 year. And yeah, so he was up there with the likes of guys, I don't know who exactly was in his draft class, but the top guys. What was he, 2020 draft maybe? McDonald. Let me just check this. Hawthorn. I just want to check who was in his draft class. 2003, so that would be 2021 national draft. 2021 national draft. Probably should know this, but let's see who was in his draft class here. No, Give me the 2021 national draft. Horn, Francis, Callahan, Dacos, these and Josh Rosselli were all, I think, up there in the as they're all midfielders in their year, and I'm pretty sure McDonald was up there with Dacos and also was good up there in the national. I don't remember exactly. Was that the wrong draft class? Yeah, wrong draft class that I'm thinking of. But yeah, he was up there with the likes of a lot of them there and scoring quite well. So it's been a surprise that he's sort of just been stuck on that half forward and not really getting any midfield time. Ginnivan, Amon, Day down at 90, but this was just a high scoring Hawks game. So he was down at like the 8th or 9th highest at 90. He just had one of those games. He's one of those guys that I don't think you can pick, just because I don't think he will score 110 from the rest of the year. So I think you don't really get much value out of him. But will be an interesting thought next year. But he won't have any discount or anything because he's going to get to that 10 games pretty easily. Nash, Impey, Morrison, Giath, D'Ambrosio 75, finally didn't score that many, but it was still a 75. Gunston, Chol, Watson, Scrimshaw, McKenzie, Hardwick, Weddle, Frost, and Deer subbed out on a 5 midway through the third, I believe. So yeah, Harry Morrison came on and scored a 79, which is pretty good as a sub in effectively 1 and a bit quarters. You can see here, 6 minutes into the third, he came on and he scored a 79, more than some of these guys in the whole game. But anyway, that pretty much sums up the last recap of round 16. And yeah, I guess I will see you guys for my AFL Fantasy team review in an hour or so's time. Bye, guys.